If you're talking to a buyer, are you talking to the buyer? Or are you talking to the buyer? Are the right people in the room? We're going to talk about identifying and accessing key decision makers. We're going to talk about that next with Matt Rocco on Purpose Under Pressure. Well, welcome back. My name's Brian, and this is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about developing sales and leadership success on purpose while you're under pressure. It's brought to you by the professional sales and leadership training team at Sandler by the Ruby Group. You'll find them in Akron and in Columbus, Ohio. They're in Jacksonville, Florida. They're in Capital Region, New York. They do their work on purpose so that you and your team can represent that way. If you're leading a team of sellers, you want things done on purpose. You want things done reflective of you and your organization and your leadership and your company and your people. And your people want that too. So reach out to Sandler by the Ruby Group. That kind of thing is exactly what they do. You'll connect with them online at therubygroup.sandler.com. The Ruby Group, actionable strategies for today's toughest business challenges. So let's get cooking. Have you ever done a sales presentation, knocked it out of the park, did your research, did your homework, put it all together? I mean, you just looked good, sounded good, you killed it. And when you asked whether they were ready to buy now, or if they had any meaningful, significant questions, they said, well, I don't really have the authority to make that decision or to have this discussion. I'll need to talk to my boss or I'll need to talk with my wife or my husband. And you weren't selling to the right person. And they're going to go and talk to their boss or their significant other, and they're going to try to encapsulate everything you said in about 2 minutes and some cliff notes. And it's just maddening. And it happens too often. Let's talk about identifying and accessing key decision makers. And let's do that with Matt Rocco. He's a partner and trainer with Sandler by the Ruby Group. He is our guest now on Purpose Under Pressure. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Great to be here. Always enjoy our time together.
I'm glad you're here too. And I have struggled so many times with this exact thing. I just can't wait to hear from you. Why does this happen? Why do we end up spending so much time and so much effort on people that really weren't able to help us?
Well, let me start by saying you're not alone and if you've been in sales for any length of time, I don't think there's a sales man or woman out there that could say that they haven't dealt with this on some level at some point, and a lot of times we start to play the thought through our head, and it's a misnomer that deal was lost because of competition, or that deal was lost because of price. When sometimes we're losing the deal because we never got to the person who could actually say yes. And there's a Sandler rule: don't take a no from someone who can't give you a yes.
Tell me more about that. Don't take a no from someone who can't give you a yes. Say that again.
If you're not talking to someone who can make a decision, would it be fair to say you're just having nice conversations?
Yeah, you're just talking together. You're just having a good conversation. You're just talking. You're not selling.
So then you go to that person who you're having just a nice conversation with, and you ask them to make a decision about whether or not the organization's going to move forward with your solution. And you hear a no, and they never could have said yes in the first place. So that's
they're saying no.
They're saying no.
They're saying no. So how do you know from the very beginning if you're talking to someone who has the power to say yes?
The $1 million question. It's really making it a part of your process that when you're in that meeting with anyone, and you said it at the beginning, you've done the research, you've done the work up front. So you know a lot about the organization you're going to meet with. And in today's AI-driven world, gosh, if you don't get that data up front, you're really hurting yourself, right? So the data's there. You go into the meeting, and you don't know whether or not this person's going to have a huge impact on the decision or if they're just going to be a piece of it. And it's important to ask. I can't tell you how many sellers just skip a simple step, which would be a question like, Brian, just so I understand, how does a decision like this typically get made on your side? But you have to dig into it.
Do you ask that right from the beginning? One of the biggest mistakes that I've made many, many times in my sales
Mhm.
career, I'll be cold calling and someone will pick up the phone and it's the person I
Okay.
wanted to reach and it's who I thought was the contact maker. And they said, "Yeah, I'm interested. Let's talk about this." And I ask all
Yeah.
the questions and they give me all the answers and I do all the work. And then they say, "Yeah, okay, great. Thanks, Brian. Let me take this to my," like, how do you get around that from the very beginning?
Well, so it's you ask them about what their process is, and you start to understand how they make a decision. Okay. And then you have to take it a step further. And you actually have to find out, are you the one who's going to make this decision? So
You ask that
it's
from the
asked
very beginning.
it in one of your first initial meetings. Now, you're not going
Okay.
to do it when you're setting the appointment
Okay.
necessarily, but you're in
Ah,
that discovery meeting. Okay. And I might ask something like this, Brian, and because I want to I want to respect what they're doing there in that meeting with me, but I might hit them with who besides yourself, Brian, would be involved in something like this? Who all needs to get a set of eyes on this?
mm,
And if I'm not that direct, then I'm missing an opportunity right there in the beginning, up front. And, what if they don't want to bring the right people into the mix? It's important to know this stuff at the beginning.
and sometimes they think they're the decision maker or their business card says they're the decision maker. They go
Okay.
home and tell their wife and their husband that they're the decision maker, but when it comes right down to it, they ended up not being. They're not lying, right? They're just not being completely upfront when you ask them, because that happens all the time.
Right. Well, and let's give buyers, I might be giving them a little too much credit, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't buy maybe your service on a regular basis, right? So when you
Mm,
ask them, hey, who besides yourself is typically making these decisions? They probably feel, hey, it's me. I'm your guy. I'm your gal, right?
mhm.
So you have to take it a step further. And the way I use, and I've seen it work well, is to go kind of with a third party story. Say, well, okay, I appreciate that, Brian, that you're the one who's going to make this call. It's not uncommon though for companies of your size or companies in your industry to bring in a CFO into these
Mm.
conversations. And a lot of times, XYZ role within the company likes to weigh in with some thoughts. And you'll be amazed at how many times someone has just finished telling me they're the key decision maker, they're the only one who needs to be in that next presentation. I bring up kind of a picture of what other companies their size or their industry are doing. And they're like, oh, yeah, 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 that person needs to be there. They don't buy on such a regular basis that they need you to help paint the picture of here's how this comes together.
And I think sometimes, especially in sales, we can commoditize ourselves where we are no different than the competition. It happens all the time. We start going right to price or, would you
Yeah.
buy me now, or techniques or whatever it might be. A professional salesperson will differentiate themselves. And if I'm talking to someone who thinks they're the decision maker because it's their job to go get the quote or to get the bid or to research the information,
Yeah.
if I can give them some reason to think again, oh, this is the real deal. Or, hey, I've got a neat idea. I need to bring in the next level up. I mean, that's one of the benefits of going deeper to find out, look, where's the real decision making process lie? Because you might have a completely different decision on your hands by the time you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you would. And I guess it's worth talking here for a second about why do most salespeople give up too quickly, and why do they allow that person who's not the decision maker to be there calling the shots?
Yeah.
What do you think it is, Brian?
Well, I think it's my own comfort zone. I'm so afraid to lose the relationship that I have that I don't want anybody new in this. I just want to, stay comfortable with this person I'm talking to right now. They seem to like me. and that's what I think it typically is.
I
What
think
what
you hit
is
the
the
nail on the
professional
head.
thing though?
You
Did
hit
I?
the nail on the head.
I am
That's the
so smart.
risk
No
in
wonder
their
I'm the host of
mind.
this show.
Yeah, you're in there for a reason in that seat. But the seller is truly risking losing the deal, and they
That's
think
it.
by pushing for access, all of a sudden it's going to cut them out. And you're
Hmm.
not serving your customer at a high level if you're doing that way. You're really not.
No, you're not serving anyone. because you're not
Right.
anywhere closer to getting anything done, right? All you're doing is pushing along. I think one of the reasons we do that is, and you guys help managers and leaders as well. Sometimes leaders put so much pressure on getting the yes out of their salespeople that salespeople are so afraid to blow up the deal. Like, I'd rather keep talking to this person than have to tell my manager that, they said no.
You're not losing the deal by asking.
Hmm.
You're exposing whether or not you even had a deal to begin with.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, I think so too. And if someone's listening right now, because what happens is that these deals get stuck. Once we
Right.
do make that second effort to say, hey, are you the person that's going to make the decision? And they actually say, well, actually, no, I'm not. Well, now it's got to go through all channels. And now you've got to do a needs analysis again. And now you've got to open it all back up again.
Yep.
And man, things get stuck then. What should
They
someone
can.
do if they're in that situation when they've already gone down the wrong road, trying to get back on the right road, and things are just stuck?
I mean, first start by just understanding that the clearest mindset for this is that if you know you're not with the decision maker, do you have a clear path to them or not? And I think I would balance everything based on that. Do I have that clear path directly to them or do I not? If you do, just settle in. Stick with it. Continue to work. Let them be the champion to help get you in front of the right person. You don't give up. But also don't,
Okay.
when you get that request after you've had that conversation, you know they're not the only one making that decision. And on average, like it's a high number right now in the buying marketplace of how many people are weighing in on the decision. They may not be a key decision maker, but we're talking 10, 11, 12, 13 people all giving opinions. When
Hmm.
you realize you're not in front of the right people, you just have to be willing to hold to your guns and say, you have to be willing to really hold to it and say, you know what, that next meeting needs to be with all of those people because I don't really feel like you and I are going to get to where we need to get without that.
I hope that people are still watching and listening to this show, because you just taught me something that I don't even think I completely understood. Getting to the right decision maker doesn't mean cutting out everybody that you've met along the way. You're trying to bring the overall group together so that the
Yeah.
best decision can be made. I hadn't put that together until you just said
Mm.
that.
I'm glad we covered it. And you're right. It is. It's a they can be a piece of it. They can be a champion. That's someone that just understands the organization needs what you do, but they maybe don't even have much of a process. They're maybe not part of the decision, but they can sure be in there being the loudest raving fan on your behalf.
I love that. Having a raving fan on your behalf, that person is fighting for you because you respected them. You
Yeah.
realize their importance in the overall program. You're not trying to get around them. You're trying to help make them the hero. That is just such an amazing way to be a seller. I think it's so rewarding when you sell properly and you do things right, because everybody wins on the other side. And I think that's one of the values of having some sales training in your life. Either, anyone that you find that can tell you, a mentor or a hero, of course, calling you folks at Sandler by the Ruby Group. Matt, how do people find you if they want to talk to you more about this topic or any of the things that you guys do there?
Love staying active on LinkedIn, so that's a great way to do it. Or they can always reach out with a direct call to my mobile, 404-731-4947.
Folks, if you think this kind of thing makes you uncomfortable, then you're on the right track, because sales that aren't uncomfortable are usually going nowhere. It's not easy. And if you have trouble reaching out and saying, are you sure you're the person I need to be talking to? That's not easy to say. It's not easy to do. But if you don't want to do it, you need to maybe reconsider the where things are going, and maybe talk to somebody. And I would encourage you to talk to the folks at Sandler by the Ruby Group. Matt, Rocco, thank you so much for being our guest on the show.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Folks, thanks for being here too. I appreciate your listening and watching. We do this every week, sometimes multiple times a week. I think we've done 3 episodes a week at a time. And if you're not getting them all, you should be subscribed. So go ahead and do that wherever you watch or listen to this program. Hit that button. Also hit the like button. That lets other people know this show is worth watching, worth listening to, and it can help them be on purpose as well. You'll find all past episodes of Purpose Under Pressure at brianmediastrategies.com/podcast and wherever you stream your favorite shows. It's brought to you by the Ruby Group, actionable strategies for today's toughest business challenges. Until next time, no matter how high the pressure gets, stay on purpose.